So you grow up Arizona, you're running equipment on your grandpa's place.
hmm
You try to be a cowboy, then you end up at Caterpillar.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you went to a construction company first.
I was working construction. Yeah. So doing the cowboy thing, I ended up all the way in Florida. I mean, 2 weeks after I
Florida.
graduated, I was in Oklahoma working for a guy cowboying, and then ended up in Florida. There's a lot of cows in Florida, and most people don't realize it, but the largest cow calf operation in the United States is actually in Florida.
You know, I I I wouldn't know that if I haven't spent so much time in Central Florida. But you drive through Central Florida, it's all ranches and horse
hmm
farms. The horse farms there,
They're
holy
immaculate. The Ocala
crazy.
area,
Oh
yeah, it's
yeah,
nuts.
it's nuts. It's nuts how much money and these farms are crazy.
Yeah.
What
So
like
this place was it went up to St. Cloud
yeah.
and went to Melbourne and all the way up to Cocoa Beach.
Whoa.
So there's 360,000 acres there. If you look on the map, there's nothing built, and that's because it's this ranch.
Whoa.
Otherwise, it would be all the way to the coast.
Mm-hmm. What do you do as a cowboy?
Just taking care of cows, building fence and feeding, doctoring, and vaccinating calves. All just taking care of them so
Yeah.
they grow up healthy and so we could all eat.
You'd think it'd be easy to keep cows in an area, but it's a pain in the ass. They
And
get
it's
through the
work.
fences all the time.
If they want to go through a fence and they figure out that they can just stick their head through it and go, they're gone. Yeah.
I I spent summers in Montana, and there was a place just across the street that we knew the guy that owned it, and it wasn't a big operation. He had he had like 1,500 really nice acres, and he had a pasture all the way through it. It was in this valley, just beautiful grass. So he would have cattle graze on his land to keep the grass down in the summer months, and he would just lease the land. It wouldn't be his cows, but the cows would get out all the damn time. So you'd get a call, he'd leave for a few weeks, and then it was us kids in charge of making sure the cows were kept in. And you'd get a call that the cows were just walking down the highway, and you have to go wrangle them up, and it'll be like
hmm
5 in the morning. You're running around trying to chase cows around on a highway, and you're
It is dark.
11 years old. It's
hmm
dark. You're on a four-wheeler. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're beeping at the cows, trying to wrangle them up, and one cow's going this way, one cow's going that way, and it's just total pandemonium.
I know the feeling. I've done that a time or 10.
It's so dumb. So you get tired of the cow thing pretty quick. You go to work construction.
Yeah. So I actually moved back to Arizona. I couldn't tell you why I did, but went back to the valley, to the Phoenix Valley, and got a job with a construction company that they specialized in hard rock excavations.
Hmm.
And went up to the Sedona area. Spent probably a year and a half in Sedona, putting in a lot of mainline utilities for some subdivisions coming in. Because the area, the
Yeah.
89A highway, there we were
Mhm.
we were right next to that for a year.
Sure.
And I mean, when I say hard rock, it was, if we did 150 foot a day, that was a good day.
Mm.
And then some other jobs in the valley there, just doing a lot of utility type work, pipe, storm drain, a lot of that type of work. And then ended up down in Tucson. I chased jobs pretty hard there. Lived out of a fifth wheel and was pretty mobile, kind of the transient construction worker type
Mhm.
at that point in time in my life. And shoot, I thought I wanted to go to college because I'd worked my way up into a managerial position in a company, and then was just tired of having to re-engineer jobs. Right, it seemed like every job we went to, I was having to work with the grade checkers, and we were having to completely re-engineer a piece, and I was gonna change the engineering world. So I started
Why?
college, and I figured out I couldn't pass all their math, and so that didn't happen.
What do you mean by re-engineer? Why do you have to do that, or did that?
Well, it seemed like they weren't going to the job sites and looking.
The engineers.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there would be um, the cut fill balance wouldn't work out, or the vertical realignments on a job just it just would not fit to the profile of the ground, what was on there. And so you look at a job site and it would say you had a 7-foot cut and then there a 10-foot fill. Well, just do the math. That doesn't work. You can't balance a 7-foot cut and a 10-foot fill. It just doesn't work. And so you'd have to start robbing Peter to pay Paul to make the job balance. And then they come back and wonder why this elevation 300 foot away was 2.5 foot lower. Well, it's because we had to.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
Central Arizona College.
Nice.
Yeah.
Central Arizona College.
Little piece of heaven right in the middle of the Indian reservation.
Why'd you try college?
Like I was starting to say, I wanted to try to fix the engineering world. That was my intention. But then, like I said, the math hit, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this math. It's
okay. So you saw the issues in the field. Like, maybe I can do something about this.
Yeah,
and I can be on the other side. I could be a good guy on the
Right.
inside.
Right.
Yeah. Engineering school sucks.
I didn't even get to that point. So, I
Mhm.
mean, just the college algebra was what kicked my ass.
It takes 2 years of prerequisite math classes to get to any kind of actual design courses.
Yeah.
And even your design courses are still probably senior year. And up until then, it's just nonsense math.
Now, mind you, I was 22 as well. So it wasn't like it was right out of high school. It was several years from doing any kind of classwork or book work.
Yeah.
To get to that point. And then I was just too far removed to do it. And I was working full time plus carrying 17, 18 credit hours. So, I mean, that's a lot.
So how do you come about Caterpillar?
Went back to construction. I met my wife when I was in college. I was also college rodeoing. So I was riding saddle broncs and team roping, and met my wife at a rodeo. She was working the beer garden, and I got bucked off a horse, and I proceeded to get drunk. So that's how I met my wife. Things happened, and my son was on the way, and so I settled. I decided to quit college. I didn't even finish my associate's degree. I was probably 6 credit hours shy of it, and decided we need to get married, and I needed to go back to work, and so found a construction job and was working. And one of the guys that I was working with, he got a job with Caterpillar at the proving grounds, and he and I were pretty good friends. He lived half a mile down the road from me, and he said, "You need to apply out here. You need to get this job." And so applied, and they liked what they saw and brought me in as a test operator. So I worked there at the proving grounds for quite a while, where I got to see a lot of prototype equipment. I mean, this is back when we were doing the C to the D series excavators, and that tells you how far back ago it was.
Was that out in Buckeye or Tucson?
It was Tucson.
It was Tucson.
It had moved a couple of years prior from Buckeye, from APG down to Tucson.
Yeah, down TPG. Explain what a test operator does.
So you take engineer's prototype idea and you beat the hell out of it. There's a preset things that he wants you to do. Depends on what it was. For example, I was working on the brakes for the 797B. So 400-ton truck, and so to do the brake test, there was a hill in the mountainside of the spoil pile from the Cerrito mine. It was a mile long, 10% grade, so we called it the Cerrito 10. And to do these brake checks, you would go up and down the hill, empty, half loads, 3/4 loads, full loads, and then 120% overloaded, right? Which is outside the spec of what Caterpillar wants, or any manufacturer wants you to do. And then you have to come down the hill, make sure it stopped. It's kind of scary.
Did it always stop?
No.
Yeah.
No. The funny thing is as they do that, they have the ability to take away the other brake components. So what most people don't realize, there's actually 4 brakes inside of a haul truck when you get up into those bigger rigid frames. So you have your service brake pedal, which is on the floor. you've got a retarder, you've got the park brake, but then there's a secondary brake, and they can individualize each one of those. They can separate where, if you're touching the brake, this doesn't happen or that doesn't happen. Well, I had one instance where we were coming down off of there, and we're supposed to maintain a 6 mile per hour speed limit or whatever. That's what the engineer wanted. He's sitting in the buddy's seat, watching his computer. The machine's all instrumented up.
Mm-hmm.
And we get about a quarter way down the hill, and I just looked over at him and just said, "You need to put your computer away and make sure your seatbelt is tight." And he looked over and he just said, "Why?" I said, "Because we're done. The brakes are fried." Well, what? He's like, "What? What do you mean?" And it's like, "The brakes are done. We are free rolling right now. 3.3 million pounds going down a 10% grade.
Nice.
No control."
Nice.
Yeah. It was nerve wracking. So at the bottom of the hill, there's a 25% super elevated curve that goes back around and puts you back uphill.
Mm.
And that's how it got stopped.
Yeah. Brakes are important in a car, but they're really important when you're hauling 400 tons of stuff, because that is a lot of weight that you have to stop.
Like I said, we were 3.3 million pounds.
Yeah.
So it took everything I had to turn that truck. The outside wheel was up on the bank, on the berm, and on the other side of that's about a 200-foot drop. So, I mean, it was nerve wracking.
Yeah.
It took me an hour and a half to get down after we stopped. When we stopped and then I started shaking. Yeah, it took me an hour and a half to get off the truck at that point.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
How long did you work at TPG for?
Just shy of 2 years. I was there for quite a while. And what happened was we were doing that C to D model change with the excavators, and actually had a group of CDIs from around the country, the certified dealer instructors.
Mm-hmm.
They came in to run the C's right next to the D's. So we had a 330C and a 330D, and the 320 and the 320. So they were doing comparisons side to side. And there was 10 of those guys and one of me. I just got lucky to be assigned that job on that Monday morning. And I had a little bitty D5G dozer, and I had to keep up with 10 guys digging constantly all day for 4.5 days.
Nice.
Well, at the end of that, Kelly Protz, who's a certified operator for Wagner Equipment Company, he just pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I think you could do what we do. Would you like to?" I'm like, "I don't even know what it is you do, but yes." Because if you're doing this stuff, I'm all in on it. And I got a phone call that afternoon from the sales manager on the eastern side, eastern slope for Colorado. And 2 days later, I was on an airplane and interviewed there. And then 2 weeks later was spring training. And so I went from TPG to Tanaha. I spent the next 2 weeks at Tanaha, and then we moved to Wagner up to Denver.
Yeah, being a test operator sounds super cool, but I've heard it gets super monotonous.
Well, and it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, take everything you know about how we operate machines, and you push the limit for 8 to 12 hours every day, because you are literally trying to find the holes. You're running machines through obstacle courses that the machine's not supposed to go through, but we're trying to find the breaking point. How far can the metal bend before it breaks? Because all the metal's gonna bend.
Yeah.
And so it is very monotonous, because you get on like the K series dozers, when they came out, we were going from the G's to the K's, and you had this set parameter you had to do. You had to do X amount of hours every day of slot dozing, and then V ditching. Well, you push with a D5 and a slot doze for about an hour, and you're done, right? It's like, okay, I'm moving no dirt. I'm not having any fun.
Yeah.
And I'm getting nowhere with this little puny dozer doing something it's not supposed to be doing. But that was part of that task, and you had to do it every day in, day out, to get that feedback back to the engineering groups. So
yeah, you don't even have the satisfaction of building something.
No,
'Cause
no.
you just push the dirt one direction and then you go
And
push the dirt the next
turn around and
direction.
put it right back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it had to, everything you did had to be cleaned up at the end of the shift so the next guy could do the exact same thing.
Mm.
You know, so he had a clean field to work with.
So you go to Colorado, become a CDI. What is a CDI?
So CDI is a certified dealer instructor, which means you've gone through and received formal training on how to be a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get some specialized training in application. So to get the certification as a CDI means you can physically run the machine, and you can run it within, let's just say, a large wheel loader, for example. You have to be able to knock trucks out in have a 30 to 35 second cycle time.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, you won't be certified. You can still be an instructor. It's just not the certified part.
Sure.
And so there's a very high standard to have that terminology, and there's a lot of dealers that don't have CDIs because they can't meet that, and so those guys are just demo operators. So
Mm-hmm.
a demo operator and a CDI will do the same type of job for the dealer, but the CDI is someone that can actually go out and train. They can teach proper applications and teach how to get the most out of your machines.
And at a big dealer, you only have a few CDIs. There's not many of these guys.
No, there's not many at all. So when I was at Wagner, we had myself and Kelly Protz, and then Louis, I can't think of Louis' last name. He was down in New Mexico. He covered the whole state.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kelly and I worked Colorado, and I was on the eastern, what they call the eastern slope, and then he was anything with mountains. But that overlapped quite a bit. I would go up into, I'd get in far in as Breckenridge sometimes and whatnot. But then when I moved to Holt, it was me. There was no other CDI there. And so I had the whole Holt territory, which is like 216 counties. It was massive.
Damn.
Yeah.
What's a day of a CDI look like? Just an average day of a CDI.
Oh shoot, it really depends. It could be 3 or 4 machine deliveries where you're going out to a customer that bought some machines to walk through it with them, make sure they understand the bells and whistles and switches.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have, like I said, 2 or 3, maybe up to 5 deliveries in one day because you're covering so much ground. Or it could be doing physical one-on-one training with operators on their site to help them gain that skill set and knowledge on how to get the most out of their machines.
I had that set up with Thompson when I got my skid steer, and then 2 days before it was supposed to happen, I had my little whoopsie. So I never got that. I couldn't tell you what a majority of the switches in the machine do. I know how to turn the lights on because that's the little button with the little lights on it. I know how to take a bucket off, on and off.
Yeah.
That's pretty slick.
It
took
is.
me a little bit to figure that one out. Otherwise, have no idea. I had to text someone accidentally, so I sent it to Thompson. It came back. The damn seat heater was on.
Oh, it's miserable. That
It's
thing's hot.
and I knew it was on, but then I'd look up at all the buttons. I'm like, son of a bitch. Does this thing even have a seat heater? Am I imagining this? Or because this is so uncomfortable. I text someone, they're like, look under the seat.
Yeah.
Oh, of course the button for the seat heater is under the seat, not where all the other buttons are.
Right.
It's just, damn it. I didn't have someone teach me this. And then every time I grease the machine, I find 2 new grease points.
Yeah, someone's probably never shown you the ones that are up. Your machine's vertical lift, right?
Yeah. Well, some of them suck. Some of them suck.
You got to have it lifted and the hydraulic lock in place to grease some of this stuff. It's some of these engineers need to.
Yeah, they need to grease their own machines every once in a while.
Yeah, they need to understand you do this shit by yourself.
So you go from Wagner. Wagner's a big dealer.
Yes.
And you go to Holt, which is an even bigger dealer.
And in North America, or in the United States, I think they're the biggest in the United States.
By sales, yeah.
Yeah, by volume.
Yeah, they're big time.
And I was working in the Metroplex, which is the largest area for machine sales in the world.
The DFW?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's more machines sold out of that territory than anywhere else in the world.
What did you enjoy about being a CDI?
The travel and the meeting new people and it's crazy how many people live in the same spot for all their life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I probably know more about the state of Texas than 3/4 of people that lived in Texas their entire lives because they haven't been outside of 3 counties.
Yeah.
And I've traveled from the Rio Grande to the Red River out to the east side. I've traveled the state pretty extensively, and so you get to see a lot of country. You get to see, what's created and what's there, and get to see the different personalities. I mean, when you think of the state of Texas, there should be like 5 states inside of it. 'Cause you've got East Texas,
Crazy.
South Texas,
Yeah.
North Texas, West Texas, and then the Panhandle. And each region inside of that region has different personalities inside of it too. But
Mm-hmm.
you can't go to East Texas and do the exact same. You can't conduct yourself the same way as you would in South Texas. It's just
No.
you just can't.
Well, even
so-
drive. You drive I-20, I think it is. So you go Longview, Dallas, Odessa. Totally different worlds in
Mhm.
each of those areas. I mean, black and white,
Yeah.
man.
It's night and day.
Yeah, there is nothing similar about Odessa and Dallas.
Yeah, and they're not doing the same work, and they're in
No.
the oil. I mean, even if it's oil field companies, they're
Mhm.
not. They're building pads, but they're not doing the same work. It's
No.
completely different way of doing work.
Yeah. You'll have one way in the oil fields, then you'll have DFW and moisture conditioning and all that
Mhm.
nonsense, and then you'll have coal country and timber and all
Mhm.
kinds of crazy stuff on the eastern side of the state. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
It is very interesting. And I think that was probably what I enjoyed the most was that variety.
Mm.
Because you gain so much knowledge by being able to be a part of so many pieces and seeing how this company did it versus this company. It's like, oh, well, they got this, and then this
Mhm.
company's got this, and then you combine the two. It's like, shit, we can make this work.
Yeah, well, that's why Build It is where it is, because we've done that exact same thing.
We can make this work. Shit, this might just happen.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. How long did you travel for?
So between Wagner and Holt, I was a CDI for 12, 13 years, I think.
That's a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a while. Were there downsides to that travel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it caused a divorce.
That'll
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, when we moved to Texas, that was, well, let me rephrase. When we moved to Colorado, that was the beginning of the end for our relationship because, when you're traveling and you don't know how to communicate with your wife, it's not a good thing.
Sure.
There's lots of things happen when you don't communicate effectively with your spouse in any regard, but then add all the travel where you leave Sunday night and come home Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
It's you gotta know how to communicate with each other to make it work. And
Yeah.
I didn't know how to, so we failed the first time, but we fixed that problem.
Yeah. So you got remarried,
Mm-hmm.
but to
Same woman.
Mm-hmm. Your ex-wife.
We were divorced for 7 years, and we rekindled our relationship. It really gets started by her coming to me and saying we needed to just work on our relationship. And it wasn't like we hated each other when we were divorced. We still got along. We were copacetic, I guess, but there were just things that came up that we both needed to work on for ourselves. And she came to me and asked if we could work on our friendship. And so we did. We started working on the friendship, and one thing led to another and led to another. Next thing you know, the 4 of us are going to dinner, and the 4 of us are going to play mini golf with our.
You have 2 kids.
I do.
Yeah.
And then Christmas morning, we were having it together instead of separate. Because it just didn't. Why not? It just didn't make sense not to. And then it got to the point where I needed to either move forward with her or we had to stop because the feelings were there. All that emotion, all that stuff, because we didn't do this the first time. We didn't date the first time. We didn't get to know each other. It was, married in October, or met in October, married in May, and she was 5 months pregnant. I mean, it was quick. Yeah. So we decided that we were actually going to start dating. And so we dated, and actually dated for a full year, and then we got married. But when we made that decision to date, it was that we would get married
Hmm.
because neither one of us wanted to go through it, and we didn't want to put our kids through it. And so we knew that that was the end goal, and that's what we really strove. We were really striving to get to that point. So we made sure that we took it slow, and we didn't rehash all the past of all the shit we did wrong and didn't do right. It was like, hey, I'm Jay and I'm new, and you're Bridget and you're new, and
Hmm.
we started from that point and move forward instead of trying to rehash the whole past and come up with the whys, the hows, and you messed up or I messed up. We just moved forward.
7 years is a while.
Yeah, a
That's a
long
while.
time.
Yeah. What did you do differently on the second time around?
So I think it had to do with the getting to know her part and the dating part, and making her my best friend.
Hmm.
She's still my best friend. I've actually called her 3 times today because just stuff going on personally that happened just this morning, and just she's my outlet. Um, Everything gets run through her, where before that didn't happen.
Hmm.
And then we still try to date. I still travel a lot. I'm actually traveling more right now than I ever have in my entire life, and we still date. I make it a priority. So when I get home this evening, it'll actually be too late to go on a date. So tomorrow, that's what we're doing. Her and I are going to go have us our time,
Sure.
and I make sure I take that time for her because she needs that time. I need that time. I need to make sure that she knows that she's my priority, and so that's one of the biggest keys I think is she needs to know that. So I make sure that I give her that time and make sure that she understands what she means to me to be able to do what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So I couldn't do what I'm doing without her. There's
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Eh, it's something that's definitely not talked about enough in the blue collar world because there is that nomadic lifestyle.
Hmm.
People are away from home a lot, no matter if you're in construction or you're a welder or you're in oil and gas or whatever it is. You're oftentimes home a lot, and a lot of families completely disintegrate because of this world.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're not home on a regular basis, even if it's not the regular basis, it's travel's limited, but you're still traveling for work. You,
Hmm.
you have to make sure that you take the time for her or
Mm.
him, whichever
Yeah.
whichever spouse you have. But you have to make sure that they know that they are a priority in your life to make this work. It's just there's just no way around it. It doesn't work without that.
Sure.
And you know that goes into part of what we're building together, the training platform. I'm diving so hard into that communication piece, which is exactly what I'm talking about here. You have to communicate. It has to be across, sideways, up, down, diagonal. There can't be any lack of communication. And
Hmm.
if I'm withholding information from her, she knows it without me even telling her that. I mean, she knows when I'm withholding information. And I don't think a lot of people give our spouses that credit that they already know.
Hmm.
They already know that there's something there we're not talking about, and you might as well just go ahead and tell them.
Kids too.
Absolutely,
Kids are really intuitive.
they're
Yeah.
they're way smarter than you think.
Yeah.
So,
Um. So, uh, that was a good tangent there. You were a CDI for a while,
hmm
and you are not a CDI anymore. So, at what point did you leave Holt to go do what I think was it Collup Enterprises
hmm
right after that?
hmm
So, how did that come about?
well, there was a short stint of machine sales, 4 years.
Really?
So yeah, so 2011 to 2016, I actually was in
Forgot
machine
about that.
sales.
Yeah.
So got a opportunity to move into what I thought I wanted to do, which was sell machines. And I'm not gonna deny it. It was great. The money's fantastic, and
Mm-hmm.
and the relationship that I built there with customers is fantastic. I mean, I still have a lot of those guys are still personal friends. I still reach out to them. They reach out to me, happy birthday or holidays and stuff like that, and some of them still call every once in a while just to check in. So I really built some good relationships there in that sales side. And so what happened was uh, how I transitioned into leaving Holt for Collup Enterprises was actually through LinkedIn. I had a guy that I did a lot of training for. He was a plant manager for TXI, which is now bought by Martin Marietta.
Mm-hmm.
So he had moved into area foreman or area production manager position. And he reached out on LinkedIn, and we had started conversating, and he asked me to, what would it take to get you to come do your training? He said, I've tried other people. I've tried going through the dealers. I've tried the manufacturers, and I'm just not getting the results. And so he asked, what would it take? And I kind of blew him off because, I'm selling tractors. I'm having a good time. I'm, taking customers to go hunt in the King Ranch. I got to do that a couple times. That was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
But he was persistent about it. And finally, after like the third time he asked me, I just threw a number. 2 minutes later, he writes, "Do it." It's like, I went too low.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've been there once or 100 times.
Once or 100 times.
Yeah.
So I started looking into building, getting the company started, and went out and got the appropriate insurances because it's, good grief, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing in the quarry mines, it's a higher level of insurance than just a typical contractor has to do. And he, the beautiful thing is he was over operation that was offshore. So he was over operation in the Bahamas and then in Nova Scotia, Canada. And so I started traveling out of the country to go do some training, and Holt didn't like it too much. So
imagine that.
Yeah. They said it was conflict of interest. I'm like, well, I'm not even in the country, so I don't really understand that. But whatever. And they said, well, it's our customer. It's like, well, it's really not, because again, they're Nova Scotia, Canada, and they're in the Bahamas. Yeah. And they'd already transitioned into this online sales platform, and so everything we did was online. We didn't have to be in the office. I was still selling tractors. It was quite funny. The week before I parted with Holt, I was in Nova Scotia and sold 6 backhoes, 6 420s, and in a package deal. And I brought that up, and I'm like, I'm still selling. I don't understand the situation here. It's not like I'm leaving these guys out in the dust, but it's all right. It was for the best.
So you started the business while you were still doing sales.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where they didn't like that, and you wanted to just keep training rather than sell tractors.
Yeah. My passion was in training. I enjoy training people. I enjoy the people thing. And what I mean by that is I like knowing that, let's say I come out and I'm working with you on your skid steer. I like knowing that I'm making you better. And to be more specific, I like to know that everything that I'm doing is going to help you be a better person, a better operator, and give you more chances to advance. Right now, not you personally, you own the machine, it's your company.
Yeah.
But you understand what I'm saying. So I'm very passionate about that. It's what drives me. It's why I think it's part of the reason why I feel like I'm good at what I do, is because I want to see you do better. And when I go on site, a lot of times I actually have to lead with that because people are scared that I'm the hatchet man, which can be the case. If you're terrible and you're beating on the machine, your boss is going to know it. I'm going to go tell him. But in the grand scheme of things, 99.9% of the time, I just want to make sure that you're better at operating that machine than when I got there, and I tell stories of guys that had been running machines for 20 years and started working with them and started working on their applications, and started to teach them how, if you move the machine just a little bit this way, or, on a motor grader, for example, if you lean the wheels and you articulate it just a hair, and then you moved your drawbar just a little bit, what that's going to do for you, for your advantage. And then to watch those people start taking those principles and applying them to the machine. And then next thing you know, you come back and they're not running the machine no more, because now they've proven more worth. And so now they became a foreman.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And there's a guy that's, uh, he's actually mine manager now at Collup Coal that went through my grader training and became a foreman, and then became a supervisor, and then became assistant mine manager, and now he's running the whole show at a mine in northwest Colorado. And
Badass.
yeah, it's phenomenal, right? I mean, and I don't want to take credit for it. It's not me, right? But he took some principles and applied them, and then it's like, oh wow, that really kind of opened his eyes, and then he started applying other leadership principles to his life as he moved into things, and it opened his eyes to see that if he was open to criticism and open to people helping him, he could move up.
And that's, if you want to move up, provide more value to the company.
100%.
Just be more valuable. You'll get noticed pretty damn quick.
100% every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a simple concept, but it's very hard to get people to see that big picture.
Well, and there's entitlement there too. They think they deserve it or whatever it is. How do you approach training? Because there's some big egos in this industry, and there's some guys that they've been doing it for 20 years and they know how to do it. How do you approach training to get people to respond to it well?
So you got to take it on a personal level. You have to get to know the guy, and so that's without trying to get too specific. You try to get personal with him to see how he ticks. I'm thankful that I was able to go through some of those courses in my self development to be able to learn how people communicate, and then how do they need to receive their communications to be able to help. But most of the time, it's literally I go watch and I'll take some notes, but I really don't watch for the first 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. And the reason for that is because as soon as I show up, you get nervous. Someone's watching you.
Mm.
And so I let that person get settled back in. And then after I feel like they've settled in and they get back to work and how they would typically be if I wasn't there, then now that's when I start taking my notes. And I let them run for a little while. And the only time I would stop them in the interim there is if there was something just completely unsafe, or they're really abusive on the machine or something of that nature. But other than that, I'm going to let them run, and I'm going to take those notes, and then I'm going to stop them when I get to a good point where I have a decent amount of notes that we can work off of.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to build people up. And so you talk about the good. You're doing all of these things really good. And you have to understand as a trainer that when you build them up, then you can't beat them down with the negative side of it or the critique. And so it's more, you're doing this really good, Aaron. And if you just adjusted your bucket tilt just this little bit, you might be a couple seconds faster in your cycle time. And if you're a couple seconds faster in your cycle time, that means you're going to get 6 more trucks in an hour.
Sure.
And so you have to run some of that math to let them start seeing, if I did this, what is the end result? And so you have to be able to do some of that math in your head pretty quickly about their cycle times, and understand, if you change just this little thing, it's going to help you get this much more done. Just add that to what you're currently doing.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Eric and I, we went to Edwards, and it was a similar thing. We're not going to sit here and tell people what they're doing is wrong. Funny enough, too, it's not the exact same, but it's the same with photographs.
Mm-hmm.
You show up on a site to take photographs, everybody's all nervous, and they stop doing what they were doing just before you get there.
Right.
You're like, I don't want you to stop doing what you're doing. I want you to do what you do.
I want to see the real.
Yeah. And so you kind of point a camera at them a little bit, and you're taking pictures, but you're not really taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
You're letting them get used to someone pointing a camera at them. And after a little bit, not that they get totally used to it, but they start to go back to what they were doing, and you're like, oh, okay, perfect.
And you can see that.
It's amazing. It doesn't take very long. It makes a huge difference, though. So you're training with Collup Enterprises. You're traveling all over the country doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You call me
3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago, and I go out to see you in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
First time I'd been to Wisconsin. We go to a frac sand mine.
Yes.
and see you training.
I'm doing a motor grader class.
Motor grader class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go out to the frac sand mine. I take pictures of the 374 out there too.
Mm-hmm.
See you training on a blade out there. And that's when we initially met and started talking about, hey, maybe there's a future opportunity here.
Right. Yeah. So we, when you came out, so I called you because I had a website that I built off of Google for free, and it was, it's junk. I mean, I'm not a computer guy, and it's not like I can go take video and pictures of me doing training. I can't hold a GoPro out here like this and, photograph what I'm doing. And so I needed that help. I needed to be able to tell my story. And I think it actually came after a podcast that you had done about telling your story and about how you need to tell your story to put yourself out there. It's like, well, shit, I can't, and it's my company's me, myself, and I. So it's not like I can bring, Joe Blow out of the office because Joe Blow doesn't exist. It's me.
Sure.
So I just reached out to you and asked you if you could come up, and you agreed and built my website. I think it was just you and Dan and maybe Angel was the company, but I know you didn't build it, but you sent it off to get built. It still exists today. It's the one that's still up. So, and then just kind of helped me with the website, and we started talking then about doing videos and putting them online and building an online library to access training. So we had talked about that for over 3 years before the next time that you called last August and said, "Hey, we're ready to start capturing this stuff. Are you?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah, it took a while. It took a while to get there. Because when I met you, it was really just me. I mean, Dan was helping out on the side. I don't think Angel and Chell existed yet.
See, and I don't think Dan was still at HCSS.
He wasn't. He was elsewhere because he left right after I left. But he worked for 2 other companies before he came to Buildwit. So he was still over there, but he was moonlighting for me.
I remember the first time I talked to him, he wasn't an employee.
No. But there's no way I would have pulled that website off without him. That's why I know he was around, because zero chance I would have accomplished that if it weren't for Dan. So we call you. You come over, and what have you been working on for the past 6 months?
Oh man, we started with doing machine walk around inspections in October. We started filming to try to start capturing this library, and so we had 9 machines out in Phoenix at Blunt's Yard, and went through and built walk around inspections. Now we didn't capture all the machines. We're going to get more walk arounds, and that's part of our plans here in the near future, is to go try to capture a few more of those, plus everything else that we're doing. But we decided that we needed to take a step back from the machines. We needed to start back at the basic, because we talk a lot about the new generation coming in, or the people coming into this industry that have no idea what to expect. And so what we did is we decided that we wanted to start at the bare bones. The guy coming in that was working at Subway or McDonald's yesterday, he's coming to you today as a laborer. What does he need to know and understand to be successful? How does he go about this job? What is some of the terminology that he needs to know and understand to be able to start very quickly and be able to understand everything that you're doing? Because as a foreman or a supervisor, you don't have the time to give them that information. And so what happens today is you hire a guy and you just throw him to the wolves, and it's trial by fire, and he's following someone around for 3 weeks, doesn't know shit from Cheyenne, and he's dragging his shovel around because he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know where to look. And so we're trying to bridge that gap. We're trying to build something. Let me rephrase. We are building something that is going to give him some knowledge, some useful knowledge right out of the gate, to where he can look on his phone, he can watch these videos, and he can go, "Oh, that's what he was saying. Now I understand it."
Yeah.
And then he can go apply it very, very quickly. And then his learning curve isn't weeks to understand his job. It's hours or, maybe a day,
Yeah.
maybe 2 days.
Well, in this next generation too, they're used to consuming. I'm used to consuming information online and
Right.
learning online.
Right.
So it makes it a hell of a lot more effective because you're meeting the next generation where they are. But our problem was, okay, great. We have the ability to go create the videos and build this platform and distribute it to the industry, but we need people who have done this stuff
Right.
and who know how to train and have the industry expertise and have the clout, because I don't have the clout. I mean, I go out there and start doing equipment training. Are you kidding me? So we
Might be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll give it my best. I'll give it my best shot.
We're gonna have you.
saw
We're
Eric
gonna have
and
you on
I.
the skid steer. So
yeah, what not to do? How to grease half your machine.
mm-hmm.
But we needed expertise. We needed, especially someone to guide us who has done this for a very long time and who has trained people in the industry. Not only has operated, because great, an operator, knowing how to run equipment. That's great. That's a valuable skill set, but that's completely different than training someone.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And there's not, let's break that down even further. I mean, there's a lot of people that are trying to train that don't understand the intricacies that need to happen to be successful training, about how you have to communicate with them, how you have to build them up. You can't knock people down, and your tones and your patience level is crucial, right? It's so crucial to be successful in training. And there's a lot of guys that are trying to train, and they do a decent job. They're giving some knowledge or giving some experience and whatnot, but it takes a special guy, and there's a small handful of them that are able to tick all these boxes, where not only can they run the machine, but they can run it effectively. They can jump in and go. It may take them a little bit to knock some rust off and get into the high production level, but it won't take them long. And then be able to watch somebody and be able to find, okay, it's that little piece that you're missing, and then be able to communicate it. So those 4 boxes are huge, right? And it's being able to find that little piece, right? Everybody can see the bigger pieces. You're missing this huge piece you're missing, but it's that little, if you adjust your bucket just a little bit this way, or if you move your blade angle just a little bit, those are the hard things to see. And that's where it takes a lot of time, a lot of knowledge of the machine itself, and hours and hours of you physically running it yourself to understand exactly what that position does for you, to be able to then explain it.
Well, but that's what's so exciting about what we're putting together is we need to scale training in this industry. We need to do it more effectively. We need to develop new tools.
Correct.
To just scale it across the whole industry. And this is that. It will allow me as an operator, laborer, to see, oh, okay, that's actually a good idea. I should try that out because I'm doing that wrong.
Absolutely.
So even if my foreman is not a great teacher, I still have a tool to learn from, and I can take what my foreman says. I can take this tool. I can combine those with field experience, and I can be a lot more effective. And then my foreman wins, because as a foreman, you want effective people. You
100%.
want capable people.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yes.
Because then you become more productive and profitable. And then if you want to become a superintendent, now your odds of becoming a superintendent are way higher if you're an effective foreman.
And we're building a course for that to jump to that stage.
Yeah.
And so I mean that's a huge piece. So we started with the bare basic as a laborer, and what happens next? So you're a laborer, then what? Once you get through that piece, and let's say they move you to now you're moving into a grade checker. There's a big difference in that job.
Yeah.
Right. And then let's say you move from there to the foreman. Well, there's so many pieces of being a foreman or a supervisor that they don't get explained to you. Trust me, I know. I've been there, right? And several different positions within management that nobody explains the extra stress and the extra job duties that you now have, plus everything else, right? And so that's where this training is going to come into play. Is as that supervisor, you're now a supervisor, but I bring a new guy on. Now I got to train him. Well, I've got all these new duties that I'm also doing. Where's that time come from?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
so
for,
it helps bridge that gap for sure.
well, and for you, you only have so much time and so many
Hmm.
days on the road. So you can stay on the road and you're still on the road training, which I think
Hmm.
is super valuable. But this is a way to scale what you're doing
Absolutely.
across the board. But that's the thing too, is you're still training.
Still training.
So you're still going
Sunday
out to
night,
mine sites.
I'm doing night shift.
Really?
Yeah.
On that
At Chico.
992?
Yeah. Yeah. In Chico. So, I mean, Sunday night through Thursday night, it's night shift next week.
Hmm.
Yay me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brutal, man. That's brutal.
It's hard to switch.
When you're in a production machine like that, do you ride along with them?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I do both. Because so you can't see everything from the cab that you
Mhm.
need to see.
Mhm.
So there is time spent outside, sitting in your vehicle or whatever, far enough back where you're out of the way. But then, yeah, I get in with them. Absolutely. And sometimes I move them to the buddy seat and I run.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. Especially if it's, trying to explain it time and time and time again. It's sometimes they need to sit in the buddy seat and watch, especially when you're talking about truck angles and how to get the trucks backed in at the correct angle and how you need to work your face for them. Sometimes they just need to see it and you can explain it till you're blue in the face, but sit them in that buddy seat and you can run it. And that shows them,
Sure.
A, that it is faster. B, it's smoother on the machine and on you as an operator, and then you're turning trucks faster. And so all those above are wins.
Yeah, it's pretty advantageous to be better at running equipment. And
Yeah.
there's some guys that okay, great, you can load a truck fast, but your cut looks like a bomb went off.
Oh yeah.
Or you're not getting consistent numbers, or you're beating the hell out of the machine while you do it. You can tell when an operator is particularly skilled, and it's the little movements.
Mm-hmm.
It's the little things that really, really add up to that bigger picture.
Yeah, and it's easy to see if you do a shift change and the next guy comes in and he can just go straight to work and he doesn't have to fix everything.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves is you get one shift that'll a dive bomb, I'll call it, the floor or whatever it is they're doing, and it takes 4 or 5 hours for the next guy to clean it up to where he can. Meanwhile, he's still having to try to hit the production numbers,
Yeah.
but he's having to clean up your mess, and it's like, nah, come on now.
Mm-hmm.
You need to grasp what you're doing to everybody else and what it's handcuffing the next guy, and he could be doing, instead of 2,100 tons an hour, he could be doing close to that 3,000 number or 2,700, whatever that number is, if he didn't have to clean up your mess and fix your problem that you created on the floor for him. So it's it's a huge piece to get the whole team working together, and consistency is the key. The consistent loads, consistent counts, consistent cycle times. If I think that's probably bigger than getting somebody down to hitting that 30 to 35 second mark once in a while. If they're at 50 seconds, if I can get them to 45, but they're doing it every time, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Now let's work on a little bit more. Let's get them down to that 40 number, and then let's work on them a little bit more and get them down. But the key is that I want it every pass. I don't want it to be, well, I can hit it on the first bucket, but then the next bucket we're back to 50 seconds, because that just blows everything out of the water. And then the next thing that happens, now we got trucks backing up and we've got all these other things that happen. And so it's seeing that big picture and getting consistency across the board is where the production numbers start skyrocketing.
Yeah, where you're leaving a rough floor and your tires are getting chewed up unnecessarily. And yeah, I can if I'm in an excavator, my floor is like plus or minus 3 feet or so.
Oh damn, we got to work with you, son.
It's a little rough.
Okay,
it's a little rough. Yeah, but I can load the truck.
Yeah,
most of the time.
I can't wait to work with you a little bit on the machines. It's going to be fun.
I'm totally open.
Yeah.
I'm totally open. Yeah, I'd love that. Um, why don't
I got to end with a guy getting to 60-15 in September.
Well, I've got in with a guy that has 3 of them here in town.
Well, you never said anything. I could just say something. I'll show up anytime.
Uh-huh. Um, why don't you think companies invest all that much in training?
Oh, that's
Because
a
you clearly understand how, like, you are not a very big cost in the grand scheme of things.
no. I'm pretty much free.
It is a rounding error
Yeah.
in majority of the operations you're training in.
I mean, it might be an upfront cost.
Mm-hmm.
Even a construction company or a contractor, right? They see my bid to come in for a week, and they'll think, I just can't afford that.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend that money. I don't have it. But what they don't understand is what they're going to get on the backside of that. I'm free. It doesn't cost any. I mean,
So why do you think they think it's too expensive if it's that obvious? I mean, the training to me is pretty damn clear, but they're very, very, very rarely do you actually see training in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been on my own since 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been to 2 contractors. That's it.
That's nuts.
Everything else is in the mines and quarries because they understand it. They understand if you want production, you're going to train your people, and they also have it budgeted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they do have a budget to do training because they have to physically do it because MSHA states you're going to train your people.
Yeah.
But what I get from owners when I'm trying to talk with them is, well, why would I go spend this money? He's going to leave for 25 cents.
Yeah.
But that's a mindset thing because I promise. I try to make this point, and I promise this is the way it is. If I'm the owner and I show interest in you, that also equates to loyalty. When you show interest that you want to help somebody better themselves, it's not just bettering the company, right? So I really work on a team mentality when I'm on site, getting everybody to work cohesively together, building that bond, building the team mentality, because that's actually more of the bigger picture than working with one individual and getting one guy doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
The whole team has to come up. The whole team has to grasp the bigger picture. And when you start getting that mentality start to come together, and you build that camaraderie with each other, and that teamwork, that these guys start having each other's backs, and they start working for each other, not against each other. The headbutting almost comes to an end out in the field when you start building this teamwork. But the owners don't see that. They see, well, I got this huge cost to bring you in, and this guy's going to leave me for a nickel. So why would I invest in him? It's like, well, why wouldn't you? That's the question I ask them. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you invest in your people? Because the companies that do, because I'm not the only trainer out there, right? I mean, there's other people out there doing this, and the ones that have it right, they don't have a people problem. You talk to a couple of them, Hoopa.
Yeah.
They don't have a people problem.
Mm-mm.
Why?
Spend a lot of money on training.
Do they pay their people more? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's probably
rate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the same rate as it is down the street. But they might have a little bit of a turnover, but it's because they give a crap and they show their people. And it's not that the contractors don't give a crap, because I don't want to come across that way that they don't. But when they actually show them, hey, I want you to be better, regardless of what you do with it afterwards. I want you to be better.
Yeah. That
breeds loyalty. That breeds that trust from that operator to the management team and the ownership, the leadership team of that company, that, hey, these guys care. They want things to be better out here in the field. They want, they're recognizing that we have a problem. We're working on fixing it. And so when you start showing your people that love, that care, man, they'll put their head through a wall for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to ask them, They're just doing it.
Well, it's a big mindset shift as a contractor too. It's not an intentional thing, but traditional employers are very entitled because they've always had people coming to their door, knocking on the door. Hey, can I come to work here? That doesn't happen anymore.
Mm-mm.
People have way more options than they've ever had before, which could play to your benefit or detriment. If you keep assuming that, well, I'm just a great place to work, so people are going to come knock on my door, it's not how it works. You have to go put yourself out there and prove to people why they should come to work for you. It's a total 180. We've been able to do it quickly because we haven't had decades of baggage and decades of doing it the other way to unwind. But that's where contractors are at. It's just always worked. We haven't had to think about it. We haven't had to train, and we're making a lot of money. We've grown our business.
Yeah.
So I don't need to change.
But the companies that you know, besides Hoopa, that put that money and that effort into their people in doing that training, they actually have a waiting list of people probably coming wanting to work for them. I mean, that's just the way it is. And where everybody else is struggling to find people, they have a surplus. They're like, I can't hire this many people because we don't have the work for them.
Well, and the funniest thing too is they're the most profitable companies I know.
Go figure.
So the whole, it's just funny how that works. Yeah, they're the most profitable.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. That is where profitability is going to come from into the future. Okay, yeah, GPS, cool. Estimating software, cool. Telematics, cool. Okay, cool. All of that is helpful. All of that is necessary to remain competitive, sure. But the real opportunity is people.
Build the team.
That's it.
Build the team, build the network, build the camaraderie, and it fixes so many issues.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So people are going to be seeing a lot of you pretty soon here.
They are going to see a whole lot of this face.
Yeah, you're going to be big time.
Yeah.
You're going to be big time.
I don't know about the all big time piece, but
I don't know. This goes where we want it to go. There'll be a lot of people watching you daily. More people watching you than me.
I know when, well, that's just because of just sheer volume, but I know it's nice to be able to walk through the trade show that like I did this last week and not be noticed. Whereas you took 2 steps and stopped and took 2 steps and stopped. It's like, man, I just want to see the tractors.
I made the mistake of I was a little early, like 45 minutes early. You guys were there. And I was like, I'll just wait outside the show and get a little bit of work done.
Did you ever get in? Did you ever even get in?
Yes, but yeah, it took a little bit. But I just think it's funny. It just kind of cracks me up.
It's cool. I mean, people do want to know who you are. I mean, you've done a lot for the industry and a lot for opening up the conversations to happen. And so, I mean, it's cool to meet Aaron. I mean, it is. It's cool.
Yeah.
I was excited to meet you the first time. I mean, shoot, I hadn't met you and you showed up and I'm doing a training class and I'm like, hey, this is the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a scrub, man. I was a total scrub.
It's still cool though. Those guys knew who you were.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a funny thing. A lot of people know what we're doing, who we are, but they won't tell me that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're pretty chill about it.
It's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mr. J, thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming down. I mean, I guess you're here anyway all the time.
Well, not all the time, but I try to get in here at least once a month.
We'll do some training one of these days.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
It's going to be fun.
Cool.
Make you to where you can actually run your machine.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
That'd be super cool. Yeah. Give me some tips and tricks.
Love to.
I got a great place to run it.
Where's that?
Some guy, Cody, he has a big YouTube page, Whistling Diesel. Yeah, you've seen his stuff. Yeah,
I've seen his stuff.
He has a nice piece of land outside of town, and he's just like, yeah, come on down anytime.
Sweet, that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of dirt to move out there.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for listening, and that was Mr. Jay Collup.